In this presentation, I will give a very brief overview of a pilot project I would like to conduct using action research methodology at the University of Northern Wisconsin within our Educational Success Center. The ESC houses the disability support services as well as several other services for the entire campus. During this very short presentation, I will give you an idea of the problem or issue I want to study, what the purpose of the study is, the research questions that will guide my study, the type of participants I will be working with, the types of data I will gather and how it will be gathered, and lastly, how the results will be shared. This study follows the model of an action research study. Leisha noted that action research is very practical in basis and helps educators focus on improving services or teaching methods in the classroom or administrative functional areas. This type of educational action research helps you create a very small case study style project. The action research process, as noted by Brooke, starts when an educator takes notice of some problem or issue, or perhaps a concern, and then takes responsibility for improving the outcomes of that problem or concern. In action research, a general process of plan, act, observe, and reflect can be enacted. Researchers outline that anywhere from 10 to 40% of college students suffer from some sort of test anxiety. Anxiety is known, amongst other things, to lower academic and self-performance for all age ranges of students, but particularly in environments where students identify the situation to be high stakes. High-stakes situations could be things such as college entrance exams, graduate school exams, or major entrance exams, but can also extend to any lifelong activities. Paired with this is a rise in mental health needs across the population, but especially college students. More students are coming to college campuses expressing previous history with mental health services or requesting new services at the collegiate level. Anxiety, particularly test anxiety, can affect academic and personal performance in a variety of ways. Executive functioning, which can include self-regulation, memory, and attention capabilities, can be significantly inhibited when experiencing test anxiety. Secondly, comprehension of directions or testing materials can be challenged. Lastly, prosocial behaviors such as interactions, question asking, and creating relationships can be inhibited when a college student is experiencing test anxiety. All of these problems and issues lead to one main point. There is a strong need to identify intervention methods for success for college students. Before explaining the purpose of the study, two terms must be identified and defined first. Test anxiety, as defined by Lovett and Nelson, is the experience of physiological and cognitive and behavioral elevations and extreme responses to the stimuli related to testing. Physiologically, one may experience increased heart rate, sweating, or upset stomach. Cognitively, there may be disturbed or maladaptive thoughts. Behaviorally, there may be an absence of action or overaction related to test taking. Secondly, one must define mindfulness. As defined by Idler and von der Emps, mindfulness is the process of increased awareness of situations and acceptance of circumstances. It may include also the process of moving through current situations and staying present in the moment. Mindfulness as a state or activity is important to the resolution-based work in test anxiety. The purpose of this study is to create a successful intervention to anxiety responses in college students to promote success in the testing environment. This can lead into a secondary purpose, which is to define more appropriate and proper accommodations for students with test anxiety as a registered disability. There is one research question for this study. Does participating in a mindfulness-based anxiety reduction program assist college students in improving testing experiences? Because this program evaluates test anxiety in students, we will be utilizing a voluntary population of participants. This group of participants will be gathered from the registered group of disabled students at the University of Northern Wisconsin. Because this is a protected population, this study will undergo rigorous design and approval through the Institutional Review Board to ensure compliance, safety, and consent of participants. The participants will be involved voluntarily, as the program is housed in a disability services office that enacts a self-advocacy model. This model is important at the university because it puts the students in the driver's seat in reaching for their accommodations. Because this presentation is focused on action research as a design process as a whole, there is little time to jump into the actual study design and methods themselves. In short, the design will be a multi-week mindfulness-based stress reduction program led in small groups with one of the mental health counselors on campus that many students have strong relationships and respect for. This therapist will teach the students breathing techniques, mindfulness measures, guided imagery, and progressive muscle relaxation. Data that would be collected would be one measure before or after, utilizing the Clinically Useful Anxiety Outcomes Scale, or CUCSOS. Having participants take this before and after the intervention will help quantitative measures for the impact. Because the intervention will also include biofeedback elements, a pulse oximeter will be utilized for students to realize the impact of mindful breathing on their anxiety levels. Lastly, structured interviews will be conducted through the process to determine impact. While there are a variety of ways in which one can share the results of the study, I would want to ensure protection of the student data as the cornerstone for the study. Internally, I would like to share the results back with the participants if they desired it, as well as the impacted staff groups such as Disability Services staff, Educational Success Center, and Student Health and Counseling Services staff. Externally, there are always opportunities for publication and presentation for studies like this, so I would work to identify how to best share these results. Lastly, I would utilize this study as a foundational element in gathering information to apply for a federal TRIO Student Support Services disability grant. During the presentation, I referenced a variety of research in the notes section. I have listed them here for your reference and further reading should you desire to do so. As a review, I briefly covered a wonderful action research study that I'd like to conduct in the Educational Success Center at the University of Northern Wisconsin, which is, of course, a fictional institution. While this gives a light overview of what we would want to do, a much more in-depth explanation would be created and generated in support of IRB approval and true study. At this point, I welcome any and all questions or comments you may have.